Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Ben Affleck reveals whether he's watched the MCU's Daredevil. Born again and suggests Jon Bernthal's Punisher is too brutal for his Matt Murdock. Ben Affleck starred in Mark Steven Johnson's 2003 Daredevil movie, which also featured Jennifer Garner's Elektra, Colin Farrell's Bullseye, Michael Clarke Duncan's Kingpin, and Jon Favreau's Foggy Nelson. Daredevil wasn't nearly as well received as contemporary pre-MCU Marvel movies like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man and Bryan Singer's X-Men. 12 years later, Netflix rebooted The Man Without Fear with the 2015 Daredevil series. In a Jake's Takes interview promoting The Accountant 2, Ben Affleck addresses his Daredevil movie and jokes he wouldn't mess with Jon Bernthal's ultra-violent Punisher. Affleck takes this opportunity to praise Kevin Feige's talent for adapting the source material to live action since the early 2000s. Affleck admits he hasn't seen Netflix's Daredevil or Daredevil, Born Again, but says he wouldn't tangle with Jon Bernthal's Punisher. Read Affleck's full comments. Well, his Punisher is good. Daredevil was an interesting story. It was before Kevin Feige had stepped into the role of running Marvel. He imposed a kind of clarity of tone across those movies that sort of figured out the trickiest thing, which is how do you balance a movie where you got people wearing pajamas and have superpowers, and how seriously you take it, and how much humor is in it, and how much you wink at the audience. And what does the action have to look like? It coincided with visual effects getting to a place where it could look really convincing. It paved the way for great actors like him to really get it done. Ben Affleck's Daredevil met Elektra, but didn't get to cross paths with other street-level characters like the Punisher and Spider-Man, let alone more powerful characters like She-Hulk and Hulk, like Charlie Cox's Daredevil did. Marvel's 2003 Daredevil movie was released back when the idea of a cinematic universe was still in its infancy, precisely in Kevin Feige's mind as he produced Marvel solo movies. It would take 5 years for the MCU to take shape, and Daredevil's low box office and negative reviews basically disqualified it from being part of an interconnected franchise. A solo The Punisher movie was released in 2004, starring Thomas Jane as Frank Castle. Marvel fans theorized the Punisher appeared in Spider-Man 2 and speculated that Ben Affleck's Daredevil, Thomas Jane's Punisher, and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man inhabited the same universe. To this day, this theory hasn't been officially debunked by Marvel, and the multiverse saga can still confirm it. In Deadpool and Wolverine, Jennifer Garner's Elektra mentions that her Daredevil died fighting Cassandra Nova in the Void, alongside other heroes like Quicksilver and Magneto. While a Daredevil variant was killed by Cassandra Nova in the Void prior to the events of Deadpool and Wolverine, Ben Affleck can still return as Daredevil in movies like Avengers, Doomsday and Avengers, Secret Wars, where he could meet Jon Bernthal's Punisher or other Frank Castle variants. After all, Deadpool and Wolverine concept art included Affleck's Daredevil. However, Ben Affleck has said he is no longer interested in playing superheroes, so a cameo by Ben Affleck is among the least likely Easter eggs in Phase 6's Tangle with his Punisher. Movies. Ben Affleck celebrates Jon Bernthal's take and reflects on Daredevil's unique path. In a dimly lit studio filled with the sound of bustling crew members and the soft chatter of excited fans, Ben Affleck leaned back in his chair, soaking in the atmosphere at San Diego Comic-Con. The iconic convention, bustling with superheroes and pop culture enthusiasts, buzzed with anticipation as Ben prepared to take the stage to discuss his time as the Hell's Kitchen vigilant, Daredevil. But amid the thrill of reminiscing, one question lingered in the air that would lead him to explore his relationship with a fellow superhero, a man whose unyielding nature was unmatched: Jon Bernthal's Punisher. After a brief introduction, filled with applause and cheers, Ben stepped to the microphone, the crowd electrified by his presence. "You know," he began, his charming smile brightening the room, "when I think about the characters we embody, it's fascinating to see how each interpretation offers something uniquely special." He took a moment to reflect, a glimmer of admiration crossing his face. "And when it comes to John Bernthal's Punisher, I wouldn't tangle with him, that's for sure." Laughter erupted from the audience as Ben continued, discussing the ferocity and depth that Bernthal brought to Frank Castle, a character who lived in the grim shadow of vengeance. What John has done is truly remarkable. He captures the raw emotional weight of the character, and it's almost as if you can feel the pain and conviction radiating from his performance. He's turned the Punisher into someone you can't help but look at with both awe and fear. Ben's comments sparked an interesting dialogue about the different interpretations of super soldiers and vigilantes within the Marvel Universe. His portrayal of Matt Murdock, while fundamentally flawed and struggling, took on a different tonal quality from the violent essence of the Punisher. My Daredevil was crafted with a lot of vulnerability and moral questioning. He was a character who was wrestling with his identity, trying to do good in a world that often rebukes him for it. It was less about beating up the bad guys and more about finding redemption. Meanwhile, Frank Castle's journey is a reaction to tragedy. He seeks justice, but the line he walks is darker and bleaker. As Ben continued, he reflected on the reasons why fans adored both characters, even as they differed significantly in style and approach. There's something compelling about characters who are both a hero and an anti-hero. It's the gray area, the question of what justice really means, that captivates audiences. Frank Castle has been through hell, and unlike Matt, he has no place for forgiveness in his heart. That anger motivates him, and it's both harrowing and intriguing to watch. His tone shifted as he addressed how Mark Steven Johnson's 2003 film, Daredevil, took a different approach to storytelling compared to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, that fans now widely celebrated. The storytelling frameworks and styles have changed dramatically over the years. My version was a product of its time, a bit darker, a bit more introspective, but it didn't have the seamless that the MCU is known for now. Ben paused to adjust his thoughts, contemplating the evolution of superhero storytelling. In many ways, the MCU laid the groundwork for what audiences wanted moving forward. The clever integrations of characters and the humorous tone allow for a more expansive universe, but I think there's still space for grittier narratives that challenge the viewer's perception of right and wrong. His ability to deftly navigate the memories of his past as a superhero, while simultaneously respecting the new language of comic book films, resonated deeply with his audience. He wasn't dismissive of the newer narratives, rather, he embraced their strengths while differing in terms of thematic focus. John's story in the Punisher series is an anchor for that grittiness. It doesn't shy away from brutal realities, and it doesn't dress up violence as a glorified spectacle. It forces its audience to confront the often dark and tumultuous aspects of enthusiasm. He dove deeper into John Bernthal's portrayal, invoking specific scenes where emotional depth shined through the chaos of Castle's unfurling vendetta. I remember watching an episode where Frank is faced with a decision that tests not only his resolve, but who he is as a person. John's performance in that moment was a masterclass in subtlety. He brings a vulnerability to the character that creates an emotional investment for the audience. It's that kind of rich depiction that elevates the storytelling. The conversation soon turned to the intersection of their careers. I think it's fascinating how both John and I have worked in the same genre, but have approached our respective characters with diverse lenses, Ben said. We play archetypes within the same universe, yet the tones are distinct, and that allows for a wonderful exploration of heroism. With the audience fully engaged in the discussion, Ben shared how he admired Bernthal's dedication to the character. a sentiment that echoed the often underappreciated aspects of being a superhero actor. It's easy to think it's all about action and intense fight sequences, but it requires so much more. John has a rawness about him that's compelling. He doesn't just want to take down the bad guys. He wants to understand what drives them and why he's become what he is. As Ben praised his fellow actor, enthusiasm swirled within the crowd, shaping a connection of shared admiration for both characters and their narrators. "I think that's what makes both our stories resonate," he concluded. Whether it's navigating the pain of loss as Daredevil or embracing the chaos of justice as the Punisher, we all struggle with our identities. At the end of the day, it's about finding our purpose, something I think everyone can relate to. The conversation wound down, but as Ben stepped back from the microphone, a sense of warmth lingered. The audience erupted into applause, not just for his praises of the Punisher, but for the reflections on his own journey that felt honest and profound. Ben Affleck and Jon Bernthal may have walked quite different paths within the superhero genre, but their narratives powerfully intertwined, offering a rich tapestry of morality, vengeance, and redemption. As fans left the hall, lingering in conversations about their beloved characters, it became clear that both actors had left an indelible mark on the landscape of superhero storytelling, a testament to the versatility and complexity that make these characters timeless and relatable. In a world filled with intricate storytelling and varied portrayals, perhaps it is this diversity of representation that continuously captivates audiences, leading them to explore their own moral compasses while navigating the alluring universe of superheroes. And in the end, whether one found solace in the vulnerable struggles of Daredevil or the fierce tenacity of the Punisher, it was undoubtedly a celebration of the human experience, wrapped in the larger-than-life adventures of iconic characters.